Alright, hello everybody and good morning. Just got done doing a Fortnite and we're gonna change gears and do a little bit of Minecraft musings. So as you can see, the temple is coming along. I actually started building a giant square box type area on this side, and I also have this like bit of a depot going into there. So a lot of things in the works, but what I wanted to do was go ahead and go recover our educational materials, or at least make copies, and bring them over here, or see, I need a boat or wood. In fact, I need to drop off some of this stuff. Let's put the redstone here because I'm trying to do some redstone experiments as well. Mm. Okay, whatever. I know I have wood out here in this container. Lots of it. Let's build a boat. A jungle boat. And then set sail. And that's why we were still kind of building around this area. Because we have a waterway that goes all the way and connects so we can sail to our other base. So, but anyways, and Fortnite's great, but like it's hard for musing because like you kind of get distracted really easily, or I do, and I can't really hold a thought or string. But basically, so right now on XApp, I've got discussions going on with people, mostly MAGA, and if even if not MAGA, the more in the belief that abortion is murder. And now, whatever you believe personally, I don't know. So what I'm seeing is the heartbeat starts at about 4 to 5 weeks, I've seen some things say, and then 6 and 7 weeks I saw something else say, but either way, much sooner than the 15 weeks. And I would have to like go back and look when my own kids, like when we first detected their heartbeat. And so that I can see that being an argument. Like if the heart starts beating, that's a living thing. Now, there's the argument that the brain functionality um, doesn't start until 24 weeks. So the brain isn't formed, the heart's beating, but there's no consciousness, there's no thinking going on. And so, and I don't know, I think that's tricky because my whole argument in the beginning of that was before I knew when the heartbeat started, or before I remembered, really. It's not like I've never known, but in fact, I did parenting classes and I was very in the know about all things baby when I was getting ready for my own babies. But, now it's like, when do you decide when enough is enough? And I think that, because you can't hide the fact that a lot of people use abortion as a contraceptive. They're not ready for a family. They have to choose that it's either abortion or adoption, and then adoption is just a horrible life for a kid, and there's not like a whole lot of people out there willing to adopt. And I mean, at least from what I think, I don't know. Like, I could be wrong, and I think that everybody needs to grant a little bit of leeway with all this stuff. Like, we could all be wrong, and we could all be proven wrong. Well, just like me with that heartbeat, like, okay. Because I thought the heartbeat was a little further down the road, like closer to when the brain functions started, which in hindsight it makes sense. I don't know. But either way, so the argument of the time of death is when there's no pulse. Okay, so there could be the argument if there is a pulse, then there's life. So, in human life. Because that was another distinction the guy like wanted to split hairs. And maybe just to like clarify things, and I'm not perfect when I discuss things, and I need to grant other people that same, leeway. Is he was like, well, is moss alive? Are plants, trees, like they're alive, but they don't. And then, I was like, okay, yeah, to clarify human life. What is protected over murder laws? What is legally allowed and legally not? Because you can go out. I mean, I think cruelty to animals is still a thing, but if you own an animal, I don't know. Like, well, cruelty to animals is definitely a thing, and that's a good thing. Like, I mean, because otherwise people could just be like, well, it's mine to do with whatever I want. But it's an actual thinking, living, breathing, feeling being. A lot of animals. Of course, then you get into the whole PETA thing. Like, well, all the burgers and chickens that you eat, like those are once living, breathing, feeling things. And I can't go that far. I like eating meat too much, but I don't eat a lot. Oh, we're here. This is the other place. So, oh wait, this is just. Hmm. So we're at the other place, but we're on the other side of the island, and I don't have my other map. So we're gonna just have to trust this. So this island is a big island that has bases on each coast. So this is the west coast, and then we're going to the east coast for the knowledge. That ruined portal was actually a portal I finished, or it was a ruined portal, and then I finished it, but then I wanted the portal access to be closer to my other base. So I moved it to where, if you look at the pretty much the very middle of this map, where there's that circle of that island, and then that big circle of water, that big round lake. Okay, wait, where? Okay, you know what? This is just getting silly. Because I know where I am now. There was the original underwater bridge that I was trying to build. Mothballed project, shelved project. But anyways, no. So the reason I bring up all that, so we're talking abortion and Israel, like two of the biggest hot button topics. Like it's very easy to get emotional about either situation. Now the Israel thing, ugh, that's a whole nother, because that's like treating human life that's already born with respect and dignity or oppression, and I don't know. For every finger that America points at Israel, we got to have three fingers pointing back at us and how we treat Native Americans and the reservations that we force them to live on. I mean, which reading who was the author? I think it was James Rollins that did the Devil Colony, and basically what that is it was talking about how the Native Americans once upon a time were supposed to have a 14th colony. Like there was the 13 original colonies, and they were going to give Native Americans a seat at the table, like a 14th colony, and make them their own entity, and then also absorb them too. And I don't know. I don't think there is like one right way to do all that. Are those? That's interesting. Okay, so here we've got foo funds, education, religion, politics, blah 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 blah. And this is like my house of knowledge. Actually, let's see. Oh, this is where the other. I wonder where this goes. Actually, let's take a look real quick before we get too far into all this. I mean, I can already see on the mini map. Wow. Okay, I was gonna say, let's see what it looks like. Oh wow, there's all these villagers in here. In hell. That's some pretty cool terrain. A lot of lava. I don't know where this all goes. Got piglin children. Ah, yes, this whole thing. I was trying to build protection against ghasts. Yeah, that looks like. Let's go back in there. Either way, I haven't spent a whole lot of time in here. Where's the thing? There we go. Where's the entryway? Alright, I was just curious where all this is. Sorry, villagers, you're in underworld. Alright. Anyways, I don't know what the solution is to all that. I mean, like if Israel, because the whole point of the Israel-Gaza conflict is Israel wants to have its homeland back. Whoa. Why did it, what? Okay. Why didn't it just, that's weird. It was like it was trying to bring me back to where the original one was, which was there, but not quite that one. That's interesting. So now we gotta run all the way back there. But basically, like our problems are politics, religion. Like, what does God say? And let's be clear. I don't think God has interacted if God exists. Like, I mean, I don't like most people. We're just taking guesses at that point at what God or Creator or whatever like created us. And we've had several like interesting theories or interesting ideas, like when Lisa becomes God, she puts her tooth in a bowl, and the bowl starts growing mold, or the tooth starts growing mold, and then that develops into sentient life, or life that can think and act like people, like or at least somewhat close. And that just kind of added a layer of complexity. Like now Lisa was taking care of a civilization. Like, you know, what do we do? And they worshipped her, but then they worshipped Bart, you know, basically on what they could actually see. But they could actually see their creators or who was responsible for creating them and talk to them. Like, whereas the best that we got is like the Bible, the Quran, I mean, Christianity is wild too because I grew up learning it and like I just was like kind of nodded my head like, okay. But then if you really think about it, it's very vain, like Jesus being God. Like God created himself as a human husk to come down and teach. Like I think that's just a huge snake oil salesman type thing with good intentions, mind you, but I think that's just human creativity on trying to explain things. So Foo Funds, that's a nonprofit that I think that should just be like a bank that purely works on zero to low interest, and it would be a volunteer organization. Or even if just banks switched to being nonprofits so they could have much lower interest rates, loan out a lot more money, and be a lot more trusting with people because as it is, people rent and they afford rent every month, month in, month out. And it's like, okay, you can afford this rent. You've never been late. You've never. All right, but now in order to get a loan, I want you to make three times that. And it's a barrier for people to get it. And I get it. There might be situations where they've lost money or they've, had some complications or whatever. But is that really worth it? Like creating these barriers from people just to get like loans to get homes? And then education. Let's see what I wrote for education. Higher education, well-rounded standards. Yeah, basics of everything. And then how relevant and significant information is. Because that's the other thing too. Like you might see something, especially now that we have access to information around the world and we've got people talking with each other. We need to understand the relevancy and significance of it. So let's actually just go ahead and put that back. Um, yeah, because as we've got with Israel and like Arabic people and Jewish people and like how they're fighting and what they're fighting over. So what is written versus what is done. Instill and reinforce a sense of self-accountability and community. Yeah, oh actually wait. I just had placeholders for all of them. We've got pagan, Christianity, Islam, Judaism. I don't know, and I thought I was so smart because I was like, oh, but the Bible doesn't have any proof of a round earth. No, they didn't have proof of, oh, that's new. They did add updates, so now this stuff looks different. Oh, wow. It has the city updated look. Because, yeah, this is what the saplings look like, which is cool. It looks like little, like, sherbet or ice cream clumps. But now, oh, that's so cool. I'm glad I came back here. Gotta be careful, though, because that portal doesn't come back to this portal. So, but anyways, it's a very complex situation. But, like, I thought I had, like, a slam dunk on religion, like, proving that it was man-made, or Christianity was made by humans. Because not just men, women too. But and that's like our biggest thing is like trying to figure out, how do you bring it back to man meaning human? The age of man is the age of humans, not just the males, but the females too. I mean, you're neglecting half of an entire species with lazy linguistics. And that's led to an accidental patriarchy where women aren't allowed to do a lot of things. They're still not. Saudi Arabia is still recovering from their Islamic revolution. Oh, look at that. That's so cool. But anyways, and I've heard people talk about it. Like I've discussed these things with people on the X app that, they're so protective of their women that they want to treat them like queens. They never have to do anything, but they're also protected. But that's also kind of like imprisonment too, because they're not allowed to learn, they're not allowed to work, they're not allowed. I mean, just like the 50s and 60s in our own country here, where the little lady was the stayed at home and did the housework while the man went off and earned the money. And now we've changed that. Now women can definitely be the breadwinners. In fact, a lot of times we're finding that they're becoming the breadwinners, and then it's like, but I don't know. Then it's just more of like a discussion, like who should stay at home with the kids, or do we? Here, you need to be over there. I get hurt and you don't. Anyways, um, let's get some bamboo. This gets ridiculous amounts of bamboo very quickly. In fact, I was gonna say I have like entire blocks. Yeah, a block of bamboo. Just by running through here and chopping down a bunch of these. So, but anyways, just understanding that a person is a person and a person is capable of all these. Ooh, Wait, these changed too. I feel like these bamboo blocks look different. This definitely looks different. These were like bright yellow. I don't really like them now. Like this dark wood, like shaved one. Anyways, but just human rights, people rights, and so it shouldn't be limited to male, female, or anyone in between. And then you get the whole gender argument, which is like, what do you feel? What do you identify as? What do you? And that, it's it's hard for a lot of people to grasp. But I think like communication would go far to have the distinction with like not. I think the term I identify as a woman. I think we need to change that. Like I identify as feminine. That could be a thing because we learned about hydras back in my anthropology class in India, where it was basically the same thing. Like men that identify more as women or more feminine were more of a nurturing type and wanted that type of life for themselves. Didn't mean that they were a woman that could give birth. It was just more of like they wanted to be play that role in society. They wanted to be, and the way that my anthropology professor described it to us, it was bad luck and it was bad, not just bad luck, because that sounds like superstitious, but it was bad form. It's not a good idea to make fun of hydras or to deny them, but at the same time, generally, like society didn't really like them, or it was kind of awkward because they weren't what they were normally used to. And that's what we're seeing here is people that cross-dressing that like to dress in like the opposite sex's clothes because sex is what you were born with, either male or female. And even that, yes, there are very extreme cases where, and even in nature, where like the sex can change. And we used to refer to that as the gender, but now gender is more just like the ideology of like, I don't know, and there's whole classes, but like, that's just my brief understanding of it. Now, that's with a college education and many years of study of just different classes and stuff, not even including gender studies, but just having a lot of that. And a lot of people don't have that. Like they'll get into a job and they'll work that job and that'll be their focus. I mean, thankfully that's changing too, because like there's a lot of arguments, mostly, Democrats against Republicans about education and how, higher education, it's expensive and that's an investment that you should be willing or able to do and it shouldn't be forgiven, like the whole forgiving student loans, which I was a Pell recipient. I was classified by the government to deserve financial assistance in the fact that my family wasn't financially stable enough to really guarantee, like, a worry-free college experience. Now, and a lot of families are like that, and it needs to change. We need to have more representation in the government from people that come from different backgrounds. That's why I like AOC so much. It's because like she was a bartender. I mean, she was working like, granted, she was probably like still in a ritzier place than the majority of us, but at the same time, like not worried about where she's gonna live or like have to live with like 10 roommates or whatever. I mean, and Fort Collins even has a rule like, yeah, me plus three, I think. No, I think it's you plus two. There you go. I think it's you plus two. You can only have three unrelated people living together, which there was loopholes. Like if you had a brother and sister, or like a cousin or something, and then you could have like four people in a house. But and other situations like Rams Village always had like the 4 unit available where there's 4 bedrooms and you'd have 3 roommates and all that. So I don't know. And that's a kind of interesting thing is like living with roommates. Like your food gets eaten, like your stuff gets taken, and people just treat it like, well, this is my house. Like I'm used to like anything that's in my house, I can see, touch, interact with, have access to, and then yeah, there's a lot of issues and problem solving that you have to go through, just having random roommates. And I mean, I'm excited for it though because that's how I met a bunch of my Saudi friends, which I need to go out and see next time I'm in that part of the world. It's expensive though. It's like $150 just to get a visa to go into the country. Like, uh, and they're dealing with their own substance abuse and substance use reform. Like their diplomats can drink alcohol, but their citizens can't. But yet, a lot of their citizens that are able to travel will just travel to the next country over, go drink and have fun, and then come back. Like it's, and they're figuring that out. They're like, wait a minute, and people are just gonna go do it. Like, is there really much point to forbidding it here? And I don't know. And my whole stance is cannabis should be legal worldwide, and I think that would drastically cut down on alcohol consumption and all the problems that go with that. And it's not just alcohol use, it's alcohol abuse, where you're drinking to the point where it's dangerous, like you're losing consciousness, like you're, potentially making decisions that could be very dangerous or risky to others, or, be basically like a societal risk or a safety risk. I mean, look at that. We've already just chit-chatting. There's still like entire forests we haven't cut down. So I don't know, and I'm a little biased with that, is because I lost my dad to alcoholism and alcohol abuse. Like he was in a place where he liked how alcohol made him feel, and he felt a little powerless, and that was one thing that he had control on, was he could drink, he could be a free person, go out and do this and that. I don't know, but he was also drafted too. I mean, and then once you have kids and a marriage, like your freedoms start dwindling bit by bit. I mean, they get replaced with responsibilities, but at the same time, it's that sensation of growing up almost carefree as a kid, being able to do whatever and go explore the world, and and fix the world and fix all the problems. And because he was a very big thinker too, like he would think a lot about how to fix world problems. And I mean, I like to think all of us do that too. Philosophy, like how do we, or what are we doing really? Like what are we doing here on this earth, and then how do we fix it? And luckily, there's a lot of things that can kind of distract you and give you a meaningful and fulfilling life. Like, okay, well, I'm going to build roads or design transportation systems or big machines that fly in the air, or, or trains or underwater like transportation stuff, or, or communication. Like, I'm going to create software that will communicate in real time, which again, kind of embarrassing. I thought the Putin Tucker interview, like, I thought that was a computer doing all that. I was like, wow, that's so cool. Because I've seen things that translate in real time, like in your ear, like, you know, you can hear basically what they're trying to say. And it's not perfect, but like over time it will become, you know, much closer and closer to perfect. Whether it ever gets there or not, I don't know. And it depends on whose opinion you're asking, on if it's perfect or if it's good enough, or all those different distinctions. So, on sea turtles. Sea turtles are an interesting bunch. Yeah. I don't even know what you eat. Seagrass, I think, right? Can I do that? Is there some seagrass to be had? This one has silk touch. It does not silk touch the grass. Okay, never mind. I know you can get them if you kill the sea turtles. Sometimes they'll drop seagrass or they'll drop scutes or shoots, and you use those to make little helmets, turtle helmets or whatnot. But anyways, I digress, and I gotta get ready for my kids coming soon. What time we at? We got 8 minutes left in this episode. Well, let's start heading back. I mainly just wanted to come over here and see the books. We really should be creating new books in every position we go, like rather than just make a copy of this. Like, because then you're starting from scratch and then you try to solve the problems. And when you do that, when you go back and you solve the same problem from the beginning, you might see different solutions that weren't really all that obvious in the first time. So you might see a better solution, more efficient, one that is more respectful of. Hmm, Actually, I want to take all this. I don't think you can reverse it. Yeah, you can't. So I'm just going to take a bunch of building materials. We get egg. Okay. Alright, and here we go. Now, oh, we gotta go this way. We could go into the nether and then come back on the other side of the island, but that means the load time of there and back. Because we gotta load into the nether, then load back from the nether into the real world. And it's probably a wash. This might take a little bit longer, but we're going. So, but no, and then with the Israel thing, like I watched this guy speaking that he's like, it didn't start on October 10th or 7th or whenever that attack was, because the most recent gruesome attack was, it was Hamas attacks on Israelis, especially there was a music festival, which, and I've even heard mixed opinions about that. Like, why did they have a music festival at that location? Like, they knew they were right there. Like, were they taunting? the people in the open air prison. And even if they weren't intending to, because that's the thing, is like people might not have intended for that to happen, but it happened. It's like I like to point out like a car crash. Like nobody intends for a car crash to happen. It's an accident. So now, if there was a music festival, all these young, attractive people like living the like fancy lives, never having to worry about food or shelter or happiness, like it's all just there provided for them, like, their country's doing really well. Well, oh, anyways, time to go. I hear them coming. Ta ta.